What's up? What's up? Welcome into the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen. You can also find every episode on our Orange Zone YouTube page. And if you are watching on the Orange Zone YouTube page, you'll notice that our studio set here has a celebratory theme, to say the least. So be sure, if you are listening, go check out YouTube just so you can get a picture here for what's going on. It's a giant party. New episodes are released every Wednesday. We invite you to like, comment, subscribe. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok page for even more orange. I always forget that. We're putting that in right at the top. I got you, Pete. This is my last episode. This is Samantha Croston. This is Ashley Wenskoski. We have Rachel Culver on the producer mic. But this is my final go around. This is my final week at CNY Central. This is my final week with the Orange Zone podcast. Crazy feeling. I got to say, out of like all the things that we've done in Syracuse and what the sports department has done, there's nothing I'm more proud of than this team in this set right here. I'm so happy with what we've been able to do, and I'm going to miss it a ton. But welcome in. We're getting into defensive backs and safeties today as well.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Should we insert the walk us through? I mean, they shocked me with this, and there was a giant confetti blast.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is there was, some planning that happened ahead of time. I feel like I got the ingredients, and Ashley and Rachel essentially baked the cake in essence. And we just wanted to surprise you, man.
Yeah.
I think we will. We would definitely like to say a few things about you, but for the purposes of the listeners who came for the DB content, we'll save it until the end.
Sure. Yeah, that works for me. I think we got to show the videos, the different video angles right now.
Yes,
of when I walked in. So
yeah.
And you'll see here in a second, I'm on crutches. So like they had an obvious sign of when I was coming, not to mention like a water bottle clanging against metal. So here was that.
That's incredible. That was so good. That was great. That was so good.
Whoa.
Hi.
I'm so
Oh, this looks majestic.
Wait, that looks so
That looks fantastic. That's incredible. That was so good. That was great. That was so good.
Whoa.
Hi.
Clangy.
That's incredible. That was so good. That was so good.
Whoa. I'm so happy I didn't curse right there. Yeah, so they shocked me. I'm glad I didn't use any profanity because it was close.
Yeah,
it really did shock me. This thing.
Wait,
yeah,
I mean,
walk us
10
through
out of 10.
what's going on here, Ash.
Situation.
Let's talk about the MVP.
Okay, where did you get that?
Party City.
Fantastic.
Nice.
I mean, the pop was really more than I was even expecting. This is a lot of confetti.
Mind you, like you can't practice it.
Right.
Like it happens once.
One chance.
You get one chance, one opportunity.
Yeah.
Would you take it or would you let it slip?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I feel like we kind of ate.
You were feeling unsure. You were feeling nervous. But
I was
she
sweating.
delivered. She delivered a lot.
I was sweating.
It was terrific. And at least it wasn't one of those gender reveals where it's on both sides. The amount of videos where they go like this and it just pops right into their face,
Right.
what have you. This was brilliant. Great stuff. I want to know more about this. There's fudge brownies here.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Shout out.
Says, congratulations, Tommy.
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
We
Love
got
that.
him his crown because he's a king.
This is amazing.
Honestly, I just think the set looks great. Maybe we should keep it like this with the
know.
orange tablecloth on the, tone it down a little bit, but it really looks kind of nice.
Yeah, should it always be a party?
Potentially.
I do think the orange stays. This
Really
agree.
nice.
I think
Really
this
nice.
pops really nice. We'll
Yep.
see how it looks with the lighting, but
Yep.
Yeah.
so far so good. But let's get into it. The best part about this pod is that we get to talk about this school and this area and this team. Nothing excites me more right now than Syracuse football. So let's get into it. 2 position groups left. I'm guessing you guys will hit special teams next week.
Yeah.
Camp is very much underway. We're so close to the season. Ashley's been there day in and day out, so she'll be able to give us that firsthand perspective. But let's start with defensive backs and safeties. This is a new coach, like most of these guys, and that is Joe Schaefer. Comes to the Orange after a 2-year stint at Texas A&M. Love this quote here. The opportunity opportunity to come here and work with Coach Fran is incredible. His ties to the area make this an exciting time. The relationship with Coach Robinson that I developed over the last 2 years, knowing the type of man he is and how close he is with Coach Fran, made this exciting for me. I'm thankful for all the coaches I've been around that allowed me to have this opportunity like this. He also had time as a DC at Youngstown State, and they were dogs. They were top 25 nationally in a few categories. Speaking with Joe, what do you think of him?
Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't gotten to talk to him this fall yet. We talked to him in the spring. It's definitely been a lot of him and Fran in that corner with the corners every day. Obviously, Fran, a former defensive backs coach himself at Baylor, Temple, Rutgers, and Georgia before becoming the head coach at Syracuse. So I think Fran Brown definitely has his hands in the DBs more than any other position group, unsurprisingly.
Unsurprisingly. And I mean, this is not the first time we've heard it, but the fact that he says, you know, the type of man he is, again, it's just a running theme where I do feel like the kinds of personalities they have and their values, these coaches, is what drives their coaching style. And I like that. I'm excited to see what he can do because the DBs was a group that even last year I felt impressed by, and I felt like they had a lot of moments where I felt like there was room to grow, but I was impressed by what I saw.
I also think having Joe Schaefer from Texas A&M, you have Alijah Robinson from Texas A&M, and then Fadil Diggs. You have a really cohesive group there. Obviously, Fadil Diggs, not a DB, but just on the defense that's been together for a few years.
And Syracuse fans were used to the 3-3-5 defensive format, and from what you've seen, it seems to be like 4-2-5.
4-2-5s are being thrown around. But Robinson makes sure to always say, like, he's designing this defense and this defensive playbooks around the players. So they will probably slip into a 3-3-5 at some point. It just depends on the system and what's best at that, what scheme is best at that time and with who's on the field. But 4-2-5 has seemed to be the consensus.
Love that. And, you know, this is one of those position groups that's a list of names. So we're really going to be targeting, I think, the main group that we expect to get a lot of playing time. And just to go down the list, and then we'll break it down from there, it's got to start with Duce Chestnut. I'm excited for those chance to return to the Dome. He's back after a one-year transfer at LSU. You have Jayden Bellamy, Clarence Lewis, Alijah Cinco Clark, Marcellus Barnes Jr., Justin Barron, Jalil Martin, Devin Grant. There you go. So that's the group we're very much hitting on today. That was not only some of the starters in the spring game, but just from what we've seen so far at camp, what the other players and coaches are saying, this seems to be the group, and it seems like it's a little bit of a mix and match because it's an impressive group.
Yeah, yesterday at practice, the ones appeared to be Bellamy, Marcellus Barnes, who's the true freshman, Devin Grant, and Clarence Lewis, who's the transfer from Notre Dame. Now, obviously, Justin Barron is more of that rover type safety. You got to get Cinco in there, Duce Chestnut, like you said. So there's going to be some moving pieces, but those are the four that I observed yesterday that were taking first team reps.
And let's start with Duce Chestnut. What comes to mind when you think of Duce, Sam? And are you happy he is back on this team?
Of course I'm happy he's back. And honestly, I don't know why I look at Duce Chestnut and I immediately think of Lawrence Moten because he talks so much about that transfer portal era, and we all know, I think, at this point that he's not necessarily a fan of it. Duce Chestnut, to me, is the kind of guy that sticks out where I understood why he wanted to see what else was out there. Obviously ends up at LSU, but I don't think that experience was what he was expecting it to be. I think it fell short of what he was hoping for, and I think he was one of those guys who, even before he came back, you had your eyes on, like, this would be a good fit for him to be here again. And I think, of course, obviously the Camden, New Jersey native situation sticks out. Not the first time we've seen that. But again, I think he felt more comfortable here. I think he shined better here. I thought he fit in better here. I was actually surprised when he left the first time. And I think that now under Fran Brown, the kind of person and player who he was when he was here, I think he's going to fit right in again.
I have a quote from him back in the spring that I think really helped tell the story of what exactly happened down at LSU, because he came out and started in that game against Florida State, which was one of the first games of the season. It was a Thursday or Friday night where everyone was watching, and all of a sudden you see Duce Chestnut in LSU yellow, and you're like, what is going on? This is freaking me out.
I remember that.
And after that, just a whole lot of nothing. It was quiet from the team. It was this, is he not getting along with the coaches? What's happening? And he ended up, it's the theme of this team is that there's so much transparency with the health. And he shared that he had a partial tear in that Florida State game in his, let me see if I can get this, sternoclavicular? The SC joint, he called it. It's the link between the collarbone and the sternum. It supports the shoulder and is the only joint that connects the arm to the body. So it makes sense that why that would be an injury that could take you out of the season. He said he enjoyed his time there. He said he probably would have stayed, but it was Fran Brown. It was that Camden connection, and that's why he's back in the Cuse. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, Duce with that. What was it? Midnight New Year's Eve? Was it midnight Christmas Eve?
It was
one of the two.
It was midnight.
Christmas?
It was midnight New Year's Day,
New Year's
but it was
Day.
New Year's Eve. I remember that.
Broadcasters remember.
Yeah.
So everyone's like,
where was I?
Everyone's like drinking
What was I
champagne
doing?
at
No,
a party,
I was at work.
and all of a sudden it's there's a transfer I have to tweet about.
I was sitting here. Anyways.
I had COVID.
Oh yeah, that was a bad week.
Yeah.
Duce is back. I like romanticize Duce a little bit because I just look at him and you can just feel it radiating off of him. We can actually play one of the bites from yesterday here.
Ooh, nice.
There's no one happier to be back with this team than Duce Chestnut. It's kind of like you mentioned, Moten always talks about the grass is always greener in the transfer portal until sometimes it isn't. And Duce is getting a second shot here. I'm not sure if the second shot would have happened without Fran Brown, right? He's from Camden. He's known Fran Brown since he was a kid. And just yesterday, he's talking about how happy he is now to be chasing this dream again at Syracuse, which he said has always felt like home, has always felt like his family. But now he's got even more of the family there from Camden. He's got Fidel Diggs, the Diggs brothers, Alijah Clark, Cinco, obviously from Camden as well, and just guys like JB and Marlo on the defense that he grew up with those first 2 years at Syracuse. So I challenge you to find a player on Syracuse football right now who's more excited to be wearing orange this season.
Not to mention 2 years of eligibility.
Yes.
Oh, it's been real fun. Just Syracuse always been a family environment, no matter who the coaches is, and maybe Coach Fran made it even closer with bringing a lot of Jersey guys in and stuff like that. Just to be back with Cinco, Jayden Bellamy, Gold, JB, Marlo, like I could go down the line like I did over there. So just to be back with the guys and stuff like that, it's just really been fun. We ready for Ohio. We can't wait to see every team. I know a lot of people don't expect us to win, but that's not our mindset. We're going for the national championship.
And moving on from Duce, you also got a guy that these two know each other well, and you can see that they push each other, but also know how to have fun in practice. And that's one of the leaders on this team. It's Justin Barron, a.k.a. Club Arm from last year. This dude somehow was playing with that, which was incredible. But being a senior...
Club Arm. I forgot about that. Oh, my God.
That was crazy.
It was pretty badass.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's a senior, it's felt to me like he's been an upperclassman for years. And he just has that presence.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say his tattoos are tough. He looks like he's mean mugging out there, and I would not want to go up against him. But honestly, from all of the media availability, just being here covering him for a couple of years, one thing that sticks out to me about him, definitely a natural born leader, definitely a hard worker, somebody who was in the trenches, never gave up, always put up, always had on a good face, even during the times when this team wasn't doing well. He showed up, he was there, he talked to us every week. But I also just think he's smart. He strikes me as somebody who has a high IQ. And when you guys have talked about the defense, especially you, Ashley, being there over the past few weeks, I feel like the word that keeps coming up is schemes. It's schematics. It's things that you need to be a smart player out there. You need to be able to understand all the different things that they're trying to do. And Barron aside, there were other people who play on the defensive side of the ball who said that some of the things they're doing this year are a little more complex. I think he's the right person to lead that aspect of things. And I envision him as somebody who's teaching some of the younger guys how exactly they're going to play in this new scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Justin Barron he was the guy that we weren't sure if he was going to come back. I think he was the guy that Fran Brown has spoken about the most, being like he really had to convince Justin that this was going to be the right
Name
fit.
was in the portal,
Filled
right?
out the
You shared
paperwork,
that?
I think, if I have that correct, to put his name in the portal. Justin Barron is the guy on defense to me. Sure, you got Marlo, you got other guys that have been around, but Justin Barron is the guy that just radiates that hunger. I've talked about it with Dan Villari on the offensive side, radiates that hunger. Justin Barron it radiates off him how much he wants this to work this year and how serious he is about leading this defense and taking them places in 2024. I think he's also a guy, like you said, he's smart, but he has such a funny side. He's kind of like the jokester of that team too. He's always playing a prank on somebody or something like that. So he lightens the mood while also really leading the ship in a very, very serious way. No nonsense with Justin Barron. Like if there's one person I don't want to cross on that team, if I'm on that team, it's probably Justin Barron.
Yeah, he's no joke.
It's JB. Rachel, out of those two, any notes on them? And who's the person that sticks out to you from the rest of this list? Who should we get into next and why?
Yeah, I think I'm sorry, I just noticed my party hat in the camera and had a moment. Yeah, I think kind of to just reiterate what everybody said about Justin Barron, I think he had filled out that paperwork, and he was really kind of like after Dino left and everything ended last year how it did, I think he really needed the reassurance that Fran Brown was able to give him. And I think for both Justin Barron and for Duce Chestnut to come back, for both of those players to return in two different ways, right, two different scenarios, I think those were the two in the moment, because they happened around the same time period, if I'm correct, right? Like that where they both kind of announced that they'd be coming back.
Yeah.
I think those two really, in a certain way for me, kind of solidified. I was like, okay, this is what Fran Brown's about. To have both of those players come back and have them commit to this and what they want to achieve this year, I think that was really, really cool. I don't know what you guys think on that.
Yeah, I also think Justin Barron, everybody always talks about Marlo Wax, but I think Justin Barron has the size, the athleticism. Like, he's a guy who could be playing on Sundays, be playing in the NFL next year or the year after.
Yeah, and Rach, who should we go to next?
Let's go to Marcellus Barnes.
All right, I'm going to kick it to Ashley for this one. She's gotten to see him the most, and he's an interesting cat, and boy, did he have a lot of attention. Oh, by the way, he's a track runner.
Oh, by the way, you're
He's
in
a
track,
runner.
just
He's
like
a track
everybody
star.
else. Yeah, we actually got to talk to Marcellus Barnes yesterday also, which is unique in that we're getting to talk to true freshmen this year, which is something that I believe did not
Never got to do
occur
that in the summer.
previously.
Why not? Does anyone know?
It's a control thing, but it was freshmen and transfers that we weren't allowed to speak to. So in
Transfers
theory,
would have been
if this was the old regime, we would probably have not gotten a chance to talk to Kyle yet.
That would have been
Transparency.
Insane.
Love
Yeah,
that.
the freshman thing, I think, obviously, they're like a little less media trained. You know what I mean? They're 18 years old. But Marcellus Barnes was really great to talk to yesterday. Could not tell he's 18 years old at all. Great speaker. He's from Tennessee. He was one of the top recruits, I believe, in Tennessee in last year's class. He talked a lot about Fran coming to his house last year and or this offseason, I should say, trying to get him to come to Syracuse, recruiting him. We got a little bit of a look into, Fran Brown. We've heard so much about how he's a great recruiter. So he's a guy that I think really has a chance to make an impact this year as a freshman, battle for one of those starting spots. He's been really impressive in camp, and he comes up whenever you ask anyone else, any of the other DBs, Duce, Justin, whoever, they're like, Marcellus Barnes is doing great.
I take a lot of weight into that when
Yeah.
players say that.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I'm just looking at the list here in the bullet point Rachel wrote down where it says the Adidas All-American chose SU over Georgia, Ole Miss, Baylor, Virginia Tech, Michigan State. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. He also did that on live television. I actually remember being there that day with you in the office. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me at all to hear that he seems more mature than 18 years old because he already feels what it feels like to have that pressure. The other thing that sticks out to me is how it says here, according to multiple recruiting scouts, he can play as a nickel corner and as an off-ball safety in the deep third. I think, to your point, if you're going to be a freshman on a football team, which is a large team that, especially a team like this that has a lot of veteran leadership, and you want to make an impact right away, you need to be willing to be whatever they need you to be. And I think him coming out of high school, in high school, I just feel like there's a little bit more versatility there. You're playing in a couple different roles. If he can do that, if he's willing to be a sponge and soak up all the information he can gather and be in the position they need him to be in, I think there's no doubt about it that you'll see him on the field freshman year.
Yeah, he's also in a really fantastic spot, learning from all the veterans that they have in this DB's room right now. Yesterday, he touched on also he reiterated a sentiment that we've heard from a lot of people that are either transfers or freshmen joining this team this year, saying everything Fran Brown told me in my recruitment has come true so far. We know that. We've said it so many times that Fran is a no-nonsense guy with recruiting these guys, but just he told him he'd have a chance to have playing time this year. He might not have to wait to see the field. He said everything that Fran Brown told me back in the winter, back in Tennessee at my house with my parents has come true.
And I actually appreciate that you say that because coaches like that are my favorite kind of coach.
Yeah.
It is a fantasy. No coach should ever be going out there promising anyone playing time. Even when they're making these big deals and NIL gets involved, you just never know what's going to happen or who's going to beat you out. I honest to God think, yeah, sure. Does senior leadership and, putting in your time matter a little? Should it weigh into coach's decision a little? Maybe. But if there's an awesome freshman who worked really hard and who's the best candidate for the job, why shouldn't that person get a shot? And that's what Fran Brown says. He doesn't promise anybody a starting spot. He promises you an opportunity to earn it on your own.
Totally.
And switching from the freshman to the grad transfer, let's go complete opposite. Let's talk Clarence Lewis, baby, because I'm excited for this guy. We at this point have 2 Notre Dame transfers in this DB room, both of which are going to be getting a lot of playing time, Jayden Bellamy and then Clarence Lewis. And Lewis was a very late transfer portal ad. This was like mid-April, so we really didn't get a chance to see him in spring ball. He's new, but he's going to be making an immediate impact. Played in 50 games. 23 starts, 124 tackles. He's a dog. He said Fran was a big part of this decision, also getting close to home, Edison, New Jersey, North Jersey. So this is one of those where it's like you land a guy like this, it's like, oh man, there's some experience. Here's someone that could help us out right away.
Yeah, he's a guy who not only some of these transfers, it's like they're coming from big programs, Alabama, whatnot. They didn't necessarily see the field. Right. Clarence Lewis is not one of those guys. He was a multi-year starter for Notre Dame, definitely made an impact there. Like you said, appeared in 50 games. So this was more of a decision for him to kind of wrap up his college career as a senior, like you said, closer to home, a chance to see the field even more this year at Syracuse. He's a guy who has a really interesting backstory. When we talked to him last week, Fran Brown was actually asked about him, and he said, of course, he's impressed on the field and whatnot. But if there's one thing about Fran, it's that he loves to give you tidbits of these guys' lives off the field. And he did that with Clarence Lewis, who is an artist. And he said that, you know, he has an art Instagram. I was going through it the other day. Our intern, Carson, did a little piece on it. Clarence Lewis loves his art. And Fran said he's hoping this season after football that Clarence Lewis has an art gallery one day.
I first of all love that. Yeah. Now I just want to follow his journey to see if he gets his art gallery. But yeah, to your point, if there were 2 options and the options were to have a star who went to a big time school but never stepped on the field versus a guy like Clarence Lewis who has appeared in 50 games for the Fighting Irish, I'm choosing him every single time. I think that someone who has actually had experience at the collegiate level, that's unmatched. That you're wanting guys like that who have been in high pressure situations, because I almost feel like it's the same with broadcasting, right? Like you just can't replicate that feeling of being live in a game unless you've been there and you've done it. He's done it.
Yeah, I'd be extremely surprised if he didn't start this year.
And then Bellamy's another guy who I think is going to be right in the mix. He started in the spring game, ended up taking over as a starter last season. He's a redshirt sophomore, also a transfer from Notre Dame. He's the type of player where he gets in the mix. He finds his way into that play-by-play, the box score. Bellamy pops up. He recovers fumbles. He had a pick 6 in that win over Pitt, which was an amazing game that helped them get to a bowl game. So he's someone that I like that his name pops up a lot. You want someone that's getting into the mix as much as possible. Switching gears from there, Alijah Clark, another dude with experience, senior at this point. He was at Rutgers, so also a Camden guy. So the roots run very deep for Cinco, and he's another player where I was very interested to see actually if he would be moving on and going up to the highest level. Like, I was that impressed by him last year.
Yeah, I think on this defense, it's always JB, it's always Marlo. We kind of forget a little bit about Cinco, but he is really fantastic to talk to as well. He said that, you know, he started his college career at Rutgers, like you mentioned. Fran Brown recruited him to Rutgers. So again, Fran Brown, a guy he's known for a lot of years. He said that Fran has made such an impact on him as a DB just in the few months that they've been working together, really improved his game. And like you mentioned, he didn't go to the NFL after last season, or tried to, and he said that Fran was really the big part of that, saying like, this is all I got in terms of, that's what Cinco said, this is all I got, football is everything for me, so if I have an opportunity to have another year to learn from the best of the best in Fran Brown, why wouldn't I do it?
There's no reason not to. And this is kind of just more generally speaking, but I'm thinking about it as you guys are talking. Something I appreciate about Fran Brown and the way he went about this entire process is I really feel like he fought really hard for some of these guys who were already on the team to stay, and he didn't have to do that. You know, like he really could have cleaned shop. He could have started over. He could have wanted to make a point and go out and recruit a lot of his own guys, which I know he is doing and will continue to. But it means a lot to me that he saw that the bones were there. The structure was there. These were guys who wanted to work hard and who had good chemistry together, but just needed a little bit more guidance. I don't know, that just stuck out to me as I was thinking about this conversation.
Well, I also think Fran has kind of garnered all his national attention based on his recruiting, but he was also a really good DB's coach. That's how we got to where we are now. He was a DB himself, Western Carolina through college after he was a quarterback in high school, switched in college to a DB. Mm-hmm. He's literally there with those guys, like, doing the drills, running around. They are learning from him physically in the flesh. And I think that's a real difference maker, especially for this position group when your head coach happens to be a former DB.
And we're going to be putting on YouTube this week. We meant to do it a while ago, but Ashley and I went down to Camden a few months ago and were able to do a story not just on South Jersey recruiting, but really the people in the school that made Fran Brown. And one of the things that we found in that process was some of his clips, a little bit blurry, but clips of him at Western Carolina. And the few clips that we were able to find, he's making a tackle and he is right on top of that player. Like, he is so exactly how you imagine him to be as a player, because the one thing that I noticed watching all of these clips that Ashley's been gathering from spring ball is the amount of times he's yelling to his players, violent, violent, violent. Football is a violent game, and he wants his guys to be the best at doing that in a way that, you know, doesn't get them in trouble, but lets them, everyone know, like, we'll ring your bell if you give us the opportunity. The next guy I want to talk about, Devin Grant. Not sure how much he's been in the mix, but he did start in that spring game, and he's another guy with a lot of experience as a transfer. Junior coming out of Buffalo. First team All-MAC selection, led the MAC in interceptions in 2023 with 5. That was also 6 nationally. Other little tidbit I thought that was really cool with him is that Rob Wright, the linebackers coach, was the DC there. So that's a familiar face, someone he's still not working with necessarily directly, but someone he knows very well.
Yeah, Grant's a guy I absolutely think is in the conversation for one of those starting spots. He's impressed a lot of people. His name also comes up when other players talk about who's impressed you and whatnot. I think what's most impressive about him is his size. He's 6'4", he's very big. But also, who else wanted his services out of the portal? It says here Michigan State, Oklahoma State, and Vanderbilt wanted him. And he chose to stay here, stay in upstate New York, albeit a little further down the thruway here in Syracuse. But yeah, he's a guy who's opened a lot of eyes this fall camp.
I think that always seeing who some of the other potential suitors were is a good indication of how much interest was there and what he was able to show on the field. But end of the day, it goes back to that same point where I do feel like once you get here to a new place, everyone sort of starts fresh, especially because it's a first-year head coach. So I think he's someone who took that seriously, considered this a tryout, which I think for everybody it was to a certain degree. And we'll just have to see what he can do. But I definitely think, again, that experience matters.
Yeah, I would say all in all, the corners are possibly one of the position groups I feel the best about on this team.
I would agree
even
with
going
that.
through
Agree.
this, they have a lot of depth. They have 6 or 7 guys that I would feel very confident about starting. Maybe a guy like Marcellus Barnes, who is a freshman, who needs a little more experience, but I could absolutely see him starting next season or even a few games in this season. So the depth in this room, I think, is kind of unmatched.
And again, you can say this about a couple of the different position groups, but I like the spread here. I like that there's transfers. I like that there's veteran leadership. I like that there's new guys. That's what you want, I think, is that healthy mix.
Absolutely. And not to mention your head coach is spending a ton of time with you. And when you're the baby of the head coach, that position group, I just feel there's always that extra edge to them. That's definitely a landlord from some of the I'm apartment hunting right now. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's been nonstop calls. So hopefully
The next chapter's calling.
Do you need,
Hopefully
do you
that's
need
a
to
good
answer it?
call.
Answer it. What if he says yes? Just answer it.
No, I missed it. Showing the unit available Thursday. All right, I can deal with this later. Final guy
I was
on
hoping
this
they'd be like, you got it.
I
And we
know.
could all
that would be great.
Get
I
the
didn't-
next
I didn't
champagne
get
bottle.
I didn't get the one I wanted. Didn't get it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. A couple got it. It's okay.
Apartment
Wasn't meant to
hunting
be.
in the New York area is just not it.
It ain't easy. Final thoughts on one name, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Yes. Obviously, there's a lot of corners that we didn't touch on. A lot of freshmen, a lot of younger guys who might not see the field that much this year. Ivan McDaniels is one of those guys. He's a freshman, I believe, also from New Jersey. Yesterday, while I was watching practice, I was kind of over with the corners, and Fran Brown stuck out to me coaching him. Like I said, a guy who's a freshman, a guy who honestly might not impact Fran Brown's team that much this year, if we're being honest. He was getting frustrated with the reps, and Fran came over to him and just told him, like, relax, like, take a deep breath. Like, obviously it's overwhelming. He's one of the younger guys. And he did. He relaxed. He had a much better, finished up the reps in a much better headspace. But that stuck out to me that Fran took the time to go over to someone like him who is a freshman and just be like, relax. Like, we'll get through this. Just settle your mind for a minute here in practice.
Well, that's the thing. You mentioned intensity before and just how intense he's been. But I will say, simultaneously, I think he's somebody who very much so cares about his players, their emotions, their mental health. Like, these are things he takes seriously. And I like the fact that, like, you know how it could be. Football sometimes, as we mentioned, can be a tough sport, and you are taught to be tough. But it means a lot to me that I really feel like he thinks about all his players as people first, cares about their families, cares about what's going on in their personal lives, and then them as athletes, you know?
Yeah, we see a lot of running around, screaming, profanity. It's a football team, you know what I mean? But Fran, there's been multiple of those little moments where you kind of see him pull a guy aside when he sees that he's struggling mentally, and he's like, hey, like, chill out. It's all right. You know, he has that ability to crack and care about them as a player,
I love
too.
that.
As a person, I meant.
Awesome. Rachel, final thoughts on this position group?
Hello, I'm back.
There you are.
Final thoughts would be it's a similar testament to, I guess, what I've said about the entire defense as we've been doing these things. You know, like, I think defense wins games, and I think this is a position group that's super important to the defense, obviously, and just seeing all of the different versatility, not only in what they are able to do on the field, but in terms of experience and where they've been before, and all of these different things that are kind of starting to mesh together as a one unit. I think it'll be exciting to see how it plays out on the field.
I would argue that this is probably my least concerned group.
Yeah.
Probably
agree.
these guys and the linebackers, I would say. Really that defensive secondary. My most concerned group, no surprise, is the offensive line. Just so many new faces, so many plug-and plays, and just such none of this works without them.
Yeah.
And so that's really going to be but as for this defense, I feel good. And especially with Elijah Robinson, and Fran said it from day one. He's like, we're not going to have this guy for long. It might be just 1 year, but dang it, is it going to be a great year to have him here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's really revolutionized this defense. I think even just him being able to work with Fran, even if it is just 1 year, fingers crossed that it's not, but just the chemistry and connection that those two have over the years has really turned this defense into something special.
Cool.
We're both doing this. Why are we doing
know,
this?
I'm
Is it
playing
a
with the
coping
confetti.
mechanism?
I've been doing. I think it's just nice to have. What is it? Just fidgets?
Yeah,
Like,
something
Yeah, I
to
like
hold.
to just play with things.
like I was a
I've
big
always been
fidget
like
spinner guy when that era was
Oh, I
hot.
know.
Oh.
Yeah.
That does not shock me at all.
Yeah.
And if you like that, I have something else for you. The weight that's holding that balloon down, you're
Oh.
gonna love that thing.
It's like the Play-Doh type thing.
gonna
It's got
eat it up.
sand in it. In
That's
the
the real
balloon.
present.
Oh, that's what I
I
care
brought
about
it
more
for
than
you.
anything.
Sand in the balloon.
All right, so let's talk about it. Let's get it. We'll put the little markers in if you're just here to see this, which you're probably not. But I'm leaving CMY Central, leaving Syracuse after 6 years, and it's been an amazing 6 years. I'll be taking a job down in New York City with Fanatics Sportsbook. So it's Fanatics is a kind of big digital sports media platform at this point. They do the jerseys that you know of. They do trading cards. And for the past year plus, they've been in the sports and betting business. I just saw an opportunity to get into something new, get into a sector of sports betting that I'm super interested in. And I'll be working as a social content creator for them. So I'll be still able to do my thing on camera while also shooting and editing behind the scenes, which if you have learned about what we do here as multimedia journalists, we're out there shooting and editing and writing all of our own stuff. And it's something that it's a lot of work, but when you get used to it, it becomes your craft, you have control over it, and it becomes really fun. And this opportunity gives me all of that, gets me closer to family that's now down in Southern Delaware and Maryland. No one's in Philly anymore. So this just, it's the right move for me. It's the right time. It's been an amazing 6 years. Got to Syracuse in 2018 after moving from Missouri. I was still on the news side of things, knew I wanted to have a sports opportunity. So I did news for 3 years. Then right around the pandemic, our boss, Sean Carroll, and sports director at the time, Nico Tamurian, had an opportunity for me to hop in hybrid and just get some reps because I was so close to leaving here, really just to get that sports opportunity elsewhere. And those guys were able to make something happen here as a hybrid, and Nico ended up going to Seattle, and I slid on in. And 3 years later, here we are, and we built this whole crew, and I'm so lucky to have gotten to know you all. You're all amazing talents, and I don't feel nervous at all about leaving because you guys are going to just take it without a beat or with a beat? What makes more sense?
Without missing a beat.
Yeah, without missing a beat.
Yeah.
The Orange Zone's in great hands, and I just want to thank Amy, Sean, Nico, Sam, Ashley, Rachel, everyone that's been a part of this process and has allowed me to get to this next jump that I'm super excited for. And thank you, Syracuse. Thank you, Central New York. Thank you, everyone that I've met that I can now call friends. This is an amazing community. The fan base is nuts, and I love that. And I'm so excited for the fall for you guys. This is bittersweet. It's almost brutal timing because there's nothing I'm looking forward to more in life right now than Fran Brown and Syracuse football in 2024, but I'll be watching closely. I'll be locked in on Saturdays. That's a promise.
You go first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm like speechless, you know? Like, I feel like coming into this whole thing, I sort of felt the same way as you, you know, wanting to do sports, not having a role yet. But the second I did, I always felt like I was going to be safe, like I was going to be protected by you. Sorry, now we're going to have to beep that too. But I mean, listen, you are the most humble, kindest, nicest person that I have ever met in my entire life. Really mean that. And I feel really lucky that I got the chance to work with you. But I feel much luckier that I just got the chance to know you as a person and as a friend. And I really feel like if in my career I can just continue to like lead with half the kindness that you did and patience, then I would feel proud of what I was able to accomplish. So thank you for everything you taught me. And just know that even though you're leaving this position, we're still going to be friends forever. So
You're not getting rid of us.
You're not getting rid of us anytime soon.
I ain't leaving. I'm the Jordan Belfort meme. Like, I might have one of those. Not going anywhere. But thank you,
I'm proud
Sam.
of you.
Appreciate that.
I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
And I feel so confident that you're going to accomplish, you're destined for greatness. It's inevitable. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think obviously I don't know a world here without you, so that's gonna be an adjustment, and I'm looking forward to it for you so much, but I'm not looking forward to it because it's sad. I think you guys, when I came in here last year, like you had really built this from the ground up, and I was so lucky to be able to just join it and come into something that was still growing and still getting better every day, but that you guys did build with this podcast and with the sports department as a whole. So I'm definitely going to miss you a ton. You know, you really brought me in here and have probably had the biggest impact on my career just in my first year working of anyone. And like Sam said, I think what always stuck out to me about you was just your patience and your kindness with me when I started, with every intern that we've had in here since. You know, you never lose your patience, even when I'm asking the 15th dumb question of the day.
No such thing as dumb questions.
And that was just really impactful for me. I never felt stressed in a first year, like at a job like this. I feel like it's really easily to like
stressful job, folks.
Constantly feel stressed and constantly feel like, you know, whatever we're doing isn't good enough. But you were always that calming presence, and I'm so sad to see you go, but I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to have someone in the city. Obviously, Sam and I are both in and around the city all the time. So for you to still be there and for us to still be able to see you there is going to be fantastic.
Thanks, guys. You'll be able to crash anytime.
I got some stuff to say too, I guess. I remember my first day here, and Tommy, I think, was one of the first people that said hi to me in the newsroom. So that always stuck out to me because I'm from here. Like, I see Tommy on my TV, and for him to come up to me and say hi, being someone not only who's interested in sports and what he does and how well he does it, but also just as a human being who's scared in a room of people she's never met. That I remember that, and I'll always remember that. And then as time went on, I kind of weaseled my way into this studio, and I've expressed interest in wanting to be in and around what you guys were doing here. And I was welcomed with open arms into that situation too. So just having that opportunity, it's just crazy to me because obviously everybody talks about Tommy's kindness, and he delivers it so well, and he carries himself so well on TV, but if it's possible, he's somehow better in person. And like, it's just everything carries over so seamlessly from what you see on television, what you see on social media to real life. He's just the epitome of a good guy, and we are going to have a big void here at the station and on the Orange Zone, but we are so excited for you, and we will miss you.
That was so sweet. Thank you all. Seriously, I love you guys. And just to reiterate, like, these three right here, like, so talented. And I think one of the biggest things in terms of, like, what I'll miss the most or just things I'm, like, proud of is, like, watching the way the three of you have grown since you all first walked in this building is, like, it's insane. Just the desire that all three of you have to, like, get better. You all grind. You all care so much, and I hope that this product that we do comes across like that, because you're all superstars and you're all going to be doing amazing things, and you're currently doing amazing things. So keep grinding and keep having fun with it. Just have fun and be yourselves, and you're already like that, and you're going to keep succeeding.
We'll try without you, man.
I know.
Yeah, so last day's Friday. It's the last episode. If you see me out and about, you can't miss me. I messed up my ankle in a street hockey game.
It's that or cornhole these days, my friend.
Yeah, so we're always injured, and there's no better time to be injured than when I'm moving. So here we are. But yeah, I'll be down in New York. And I'll be getting to travel to some games. I'll be doing a lot of stuff on their social media platforms, making videos, doing interviews. So be sure to follow us, or be sure to follow me, and I'll be keeping you posted. But I'll be back up in the Cuse, and I can't wait to go and be a fan in the Dome for the first time. That is going to be an amazing day. I get to sit in the seat. I'm going to tailgate. I'm going to go to varsity.
Drink a few beers.
I'm going to drink a few beers. I'm going to go to Orange Crate. Like, I'm going to be
Soak it in.
I'm going to be your classic
You're gonna be, like, waving.
315 fan. It's going to be a blast. So I'll see you guys this fall.
I have a question.
Yes.
So should people hit you up like for their betting, betting content?
Picks.
Should people hit you up for the picks? Like, what's the situation?
You know what?
there?
Picks, yeah, I can put you to the right people. I don't know if I'll be necessarily the sharp, the bookmaker. I won't be fully in the know, but I'll be around that world that we all, I know, think is so interesting and cool. But yeah, hit me up, follow us, and I'll be sure to try to get you connected with some tips and tricks.
Okay.
Some
Betting
insider.
responsibly, of course.
And not on Syracuse because that's illegal.
We're gonna
Yeah,
drop.
not legal in New York.
We're gonna drop the gambling hotline just
Yeah.
on the middle of the screen right here.
Put it up on the screen. It just dissolves
Literally.
onto the screen.
Yeah.
Literally.
But that's it, right?
I feel like all of us have a fear of kind of ending this episode.
I know, we're all just rambling. I actually didn't tell my favorite Tommy story, but now I feel like we're getting redundant, so maybe I should just save it.
What is
I don't
it?
know.
You can say it.
I meant to say it in my little thing, and I forgot. It was just when I interned here. I interned here before I got hired here the year before, in case people don't know. And I didn't think I was going to work here at that time because it was just you in the sports department. So it was this spring, and I was making a reel. And I didn't have a whole ton of stand-ups. I just had Syracuse stuff. It was really repetitive. And I'll never forget this because you took me around to Syracuse Mets and I think to the Dome. We did like a bunch. We did like 3 or 4 stand-ups in one day. And that just really stuck out to me because I didn't think I was going to be here at that time. Like you probably thought you were going to, never see me again in a few months. And yeah, that just was really impactful for me. And I'll be grateful for it forever.
Well, proud of you guys so much. All of you.
Thanks. Sorry, we're just rambling at this point.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
I
All
wish
right.
we had one more pop of that thing.
I need one more pop in the worst way possible. Like that's just how the episode
wish-
just needs to end.
I wish everybody
Not
could.
impactful enough.
I wish everybody could see the floor of the set right now because it is absolutely littered with confetti.
It is. It's a mess.
Oh, good stuff,
Final
everyone.
goodbye. That's our
Bye.
show. Like and subscribe. Love you all. Appreciate it. Thank you for following us on this journey. It's just getting started. Peace. We're out.